Hey you guys, welcome back to my channel Skinny on Carbs. My name is Andrea, and on this channel I try to use my background in biology, histopathology, and naturopathic medicine to help you live the life that you deserve. Okay, so let's talk about it. Let's talk about fat, okay? Because you are on your journey to get skinny on carbs, which means we cannot ignore the elephant in the room any longer. We need to talk about fat. However, I want to take this time to put fat into a different context for you, okay? I want to invite you to think about your fat a little differently. So, most of the weight loss community or the world in general actually sees fat as a mechanism of storage for fuel. Okay, that's really what we've been taught. And we've been taught sort of this evolutionary theory where our body learned cleverly to stack on calories in the form of stored calories in the form of fat, in so that in times of like hard need or time or hard times or whatever, famine, we can call on this fat as an energy source. And that's largely how we view fat. And so when we want to lose fat, this is also largely how we look at fat. Okay. We just look at it as a source of fuel. And so we try to do things in order to burn the fat off, okay? Because we need to burn the fuel off. That's what it is. It's just a fuel source, right? So I want to invite you to look at it differently because that's actually not accurate. It's very old, sort of a very old, outdated way of thinking as it pertains to fat. Fat is not just a source of energy that's being stored on the body. Your fat, your adipose tissue, is very functional, okay? It's not just an energy source. So, what do I mean by functional? Well, your adipose tissue is tissue, right? So it's an actual organ system. It is classified as an organ, okay? That's correct. Your fat is considered an organ, just like your pancreas is an organ, your liver, your kidneys, your adrenals. These are organs. And so that's how important your fat is. But not only is your fat an organ or considered an organ system, but it is also an endocrine organ, which is very important. And so we need to talk about that because I know you've heard me say in past videos, remember I've said in past videos that in order to lose weight, this is a journey in figuring out your hormones. It's not so much a journey in figuring out the calories. That is outdated as well. The quicker you let that go is the easier things are going to be. You're not here to figure out the calories because you cannot do that. You're not going to be successful at it. Your body is always going to bob and weave and do what it needs to do in order to become efficient. It's evolved over millions of years to be very efficient. So you're not going to outsmart it with what you're doing. So I would forget about that strategy. I would lay it to rest. I mean, you can use it, you can be successful at it for a while, but usually it backfires on you. Eventually, it backfires. No one can keep it up. It's not sustainable because, like I said, your body is very efficient. It knows what it's doing, and you kind of don't. So I don't play the calorie game, never have, and I don't intend to. What I do care about is the hormones and balancing them. And I am not going to balance my hormones either, okay? So that's not, I don't balance my hormones. But what I do understand is that if I want my body's hormones to be balanced, I have to keep my mitochondria happy, okay? So let's get back to talking about fat. So, your fat is not just a storage system for energy. Your fat is an organ, and your fat is an endocrine organ. And an endocrine organ means that it's very crucial in terms of creating, making hormones, and releasing hormones. So, you can see how important your fat is. So maybe you might want to rethink the idea of trying to kill fat or get rid of fat because that's not really what you're doing, okay? You pretty much have the same amount of fat that you did um, before you got overweight. It's not the amount of fat or adipose tissue that you have. It's the volume, okay? It's how much fat is going into those adipose cells. So you're not trying to kill your adipose cells. You really don't want to do that. You kind of don't want that to happen, because I just told you that fat is an endocrine organ, right? Which means it's a hormone releasing organ. It's just as important as your thyroid. It is just as important as your adrenals, your pineal gland, your parathyroid. It is just as important. It's a part of your endocrine system, and you don't want to disrupt your endocrine system. However, if you have one of those organs or glands in your endocrine system that's enlarged, the way your fat is enlarged, if you're overweight, you could see how that would be a problem. If you had an enlarged thyroid, you would immediately know that you have an issue, okay? It's the same thing with your fat. If your fat is enlarged, you have an issue with your endocrine system, which means you have an issue with your hormonal system. This is the problem. So this is what we have to address. So you're not trying to kill your fat cells. That's not something that you're trying to do. However, what you do want to do is you want to work with the mitochondria, right? And your fat cells have mitochondria in them. So you need to work with the mitochondria as a system, right? So you're not gonna sort of single out mitochondria in the fat cells and not in any other cells. It doesn't work like that either. Or I don't think, I'm not smart enough to do it, and I don't want to. It's too much work, right? So just try to make your mitochondria happy if you want to sort of get your hormones together, aka get your fat happy. So how are we going to do this? What are we going to do? Well, it comes back to carbohydrates, right? Now, carbohydrates is not the panacea for everything. However, it is a very strong foundation. It is a very strong foundation in order to make your mitochondria happy, in order to make your metabolism happy, okay? Because remember, metabolism is happening inside the fat cells. And what you're wanting to do inside those cells is, if you make the mitochondria happy, right? And you lay the foundation in terms of giving the mitochondria what it needs. So simple carbs, aka sugars, then your fat cells are able to do something that nobody is talking about, which is it is going to oxidize those lipids in order to detox. This is where you are trying to use up those fats, okay? You're not trying to become a fat burner. You're not trying to force your fat into the mitochondrial electron transport chain. That's not where you're trying to push your fat. Your body, there's another purpose for your fat too, other than it being an organ and an endocrine organ. Your fat is also a safe haven for toxins. This is where your liver stuffs toxins when it can't expel them immediately. It will conjugate them and put them inside of the fat. So that way it doesn't harm you. Okay, so that's another function of your fat. That has nothing to do with it being a calorie source. So what your body is going to do is, if you have given your mitochondria if you've met your energetic needs throughout the day, and you've given your mitochondria everything it needs, not just carbohydrates, which is a very strong foundation, not just carbohydrates, but you've given it the electrolytes, you've given it the minerals, you've given it the cofactors, the enzymes, the antioxidants. If you've given it all of those things, or you've given it your body the raw material to make those things, your mitochondria is going to be happy. It's going to run and it's going to function very well. Now you have enough energy to run the autophagy process, okay? Now you have enough energy to get your lysosomes going, and that's what's going to oxidize your lipids, okay? You have other areas in the cell that's going to oxidize lipids, but I'm mainly targeting that one because everybody talks about autophagy. Everybody knows about autophagy, so it's the easiest one for me to talk about. So this is where your body is going to oxidize those lipids, because what it wants to do is it wants to oxidize lipids so it can gain access to the toxins within those lipids, and it wants to be able to shuttle those out. It wants to be able to get it to the liver, and the liver is going to tag it, whether it's going to go through the bowels, whether it's going to go through your urine or your sweat, whatever. Right, your liver is going to figure that out, and it wants to get access to those xenobiotics so that it can get rid of the toxins. Okay, so that's mainly how you want to view your fat oxidation process, or your fat reduction process. Is you want to treat this as a detox thing, not as a fat burning thing, because that's not really what you're going for when your body wants to get rid of it. Okay, the more you try to the more you make your mitochondria unhappy, right? And if you don't give your body the raw materials that it needs to keep the mitochondria happy, what that says to the body is we don't have what we need in order to process these toxins that are stored in your lipids. Okay, it doesn't have what it needs in order to, because if it releases those toxins, and it doesn't have what it needs in order to be able to handle those toxins, now you're going to be you have a bigger problem on hand. And your body is not stupid. Remember, I said, and I think I'm the only one that says this, is that your body is smarter than you. You're not smarter than your body. You are not the chemist. Your body is the chemist. Your body knows exactly what's going on. Every single electron in your body is tied to quantum. It knows what's going on. You, not so much. Maybe on a subconscious level, but not consciously. You're not going to be able to figure it out with your left brain, okay, or logical thinking. So this is how you need to treat fat. You need to understand that fat is an endocrine organ. It's a hormone releasing organ. You want to make the hormones happy. In order to do that, you make your mitochondria happy. Okay? If you make your mitochondria happy, it means you have everything that you need in order to tackle lipid oxidation via the detox pathways. Then your body is not gonna hesitate to oxidize those lipids at night when you rest. Most of your fat burning does not happen when you're walking around. And this is why I'm like, why are you guys calculating BMRs and trying to ramp up this and down regulate that? I mean, you can, but why do it? Most of your fat is burned at rest, right? At rest, because the fat burning process is mainly a detox process. And your body does not really efficiently detox if it's working. All right. Now, what I just said to you is also another clue on how you're going to burn fat, or how you're going to oxidize those lipids, because I just told you that getting rid of fat or oxidizing lipids is a hormonal game, one, and two, it's a detox thing. And detox is amplified at rest. Lipids are oxidized mainly at rest. Your detox pathways happen when you're at rest. So it becomes very important to not, and I know there are going to be some people that are going to push back because they don't like the idea of talking about overeating. And overeating really isn't a thing as far as I'm concerned. It's really not a thing. I think people eat inappropriately, so they're not making their mitochondria happy, and they eat untimely, okay? So they're not feeding themselves nutrient at the proper timing. And so you are running the digestive process way too much because you're eating complex foods. So you're eating complex carbs, you're eating complex proteins, and you're eating fats, not fatty acids, not amino acids, and not simple sugars. So another key to the process in terms of making your mitochondria happy and freeing up energy in order to run your autophageal pathways is to not stress your digestive system. Okay? And so I'm going to make another video about that, about not stressing the digestive system, because what I'm saying to you is you want to optimize your lipid oxidation pathways via the detox pathways. So we have to talk about digestion next, okay? I hope that helped you guys. See you in the next video. Bye.